Where's my headphones? My headphones. Got to have my headphones. Okay, Lisa, I think we're live. Hello, hello. Didn't know if that other cord was going to work for the sound or not. You know that? Because I had to switch them around. I think I found out what's wrong.
What?
With the switcher. All right, so I put the live for 10 minutes after. We are a little bit late, and we were kind of scrambling to get things going here, but we are up and live. So I'm actually 6 minutes early from what I put the live at, but I'm 4 minutes late from what it should be. That make sense? All right, whatever. And should I get a picture of Lisa stuffing her face over there? No. She's not ready to be filmed yet. She's wolfing down some, what is that? That looks good.
Potato patties.
Oh, okay, cool. Potato patties. So how are you folks out there in YouTube land? In the whole world? We got people from all over the world watching us, Lisa. That's fantastic. That's amazing. That's humbling. A-Force Animations, hello, how you doing? Learning more and more about my buttons, I'll tell you that. I can put the comments up with this little thing now. Got the problem figured out, I think. I think it was just this little cord here.
Have you ever heard so much complaining? I mean, I've been doing that for years.
I'm going to put you on.
And then he'll come over and he'll put him as 4 and Ricky as 2 and so on and so forth. And I have to figure out who's talking and find the right button.
Yeah, but guess what? I got the buttons figured out, so that won't be a problem anymore.
Okay.
But Lisa, you didn't see what I titled this as. Trish in Progress, good evening from Connecticut. How's it going, Trish? We're so glad you joined us.
Hello.
We're going to be talking a little bit more about country living, but my wife wanted to bring up some subject matter that I think is really important too. And she has some quotations from the book. What's it called?
Well, hang on.
Well, what's the book called?
Do your own thing. Then I'll bring it up.
Yeah, but wasn't you don't you have a name? You can't remember the name of the book?
Oh, Heaven.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Work with me. All right.
My question.
We're all keyed up.
My question for everybody, and I mean, this is a thing I struggle with.
Let me adjust your camera. Keep talking.
When do you believe God or Christ is coming? 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? I mean, just your own, as you're reading the Bible and you see things that are happening, the events are happening quickly. Do you think that, I mean, I mean, I know you're not supposed to set a time frame on it, but I was just interested on what people think about that. And Carrie's still playing around over there. You know, I was reading this book of Ellen G. White's all about heaven, and it says all blemishes and deformities are left behind. They're restored at the tree of life, and the long-lost Eden, the redeemed, will grow up. We're not even our full stature as the race of primeval glory. So, I mean, we might end up growing another, what, four or 5 feet?
The fullness of our stature, whatever that is. I mean, whatever our DNA originally meant us to be.
Yeah.
Because our DNA has been corrupted because of the degeneration of mankind.
Yeah.
And we can see that in the fossil records. I mean, I think the Smithsonian has probably burned more giant bones than, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. There's so much evidence of something that was before us, and they're hiding it to further an agenda.
You're right.
And so A-Force Animation says he thinks this year. And he says, Ellen White stated that the last steps would be rapid ones. I see prophecy fulfilling left and right.
I do too.
Yeah. P. Grand just joined us. Not sure. Maybe in 10 years. Hope sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least within 10 years. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, man, you know what?
He did say he's going to tarry, isn't it?
I think we're in the tarrying time.
Oh, we're in.
Blue Light says hello. Nice to have you here, Blue Light. We're so glad that all you guys are joining us. And if I recall right, P. Grand is from Australia. Which state are you from, Blue Light, if you don't mind saying? You don't have to if you don't want to. Now my microphone's loose. All right. So anyways, Lisa.
Oh, yeah, we'll just be redeemed. We'll grow, obviously, to our rightful stature. And then the redeemed will the body reflecting the perfect image as the curse of sin will be removed from our minds, our soul. Our body will be perfect. Oh, wonderful redemption. And then it goes on to talk about the flowers. You'll pick them and they'll never fade. And the grass. I mean, we look out wherever you are in the world, when you look out and you see the waving grass in the spring, in your spring, whatever time that is, this grass is going to be real hardy, and it's going to have silver and gold, glorious to behold. I mean, that would be cool. Be looking shiny, silver and gold. And then I was just reading on. I'm going to give Carrie a chance here, but I was reading on, and I thought this was striking. The red on the bottom of these brilliant white garments, and their brilliant white crowns, an innumerable company of little children who had been. God says these are the saints, for they had been slain for Him. I just thought that was just really cool, because Ellen G. White was having a vision. She was walking one direction and they were walking the other direction, and she was like, why do they have the red on the bottom of the hymn? He said, because they've been slain for my name's sake. I thought that was really cool.
All right, so I'm trying to, all right, never mind.
He's still playing around.
The comment on here, all right, so yeah, I'm still playing around. Yes, okay. So, okay, last trumpet. Bart's with us. He says,
Bart.
after the 6,000 years of sin is complete and has run its course. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
I was actually waiting for that comment. Blue Light said it's a secret.
Yeah, it is.
Now, the 6,000 years, let's talk about that just for a second. Watchman's with us. Hey, Watchman,
Hi,
how you doing, man? The 6,000 year period. Now, Ellen White had made a quote. Now, it makes sense because it's, and if you guys don't read Ellen White, that's okay. There is something called the millennial week, okay? And so if you do Bible chronology and you do it accurately, you come up with this world is about 6,000 years old. And God likes to do things in seven. So if He's going to have 1,000 years in heaven, that is what we could basically call a Sabbath millennium, right?
Uh-huh.
And so 6,000 years of sin on this earth, 1,000 years in heaven. Now, the way, and I've heard a lot of different reckonings, and the way Ellen White reckoned it was that there would be 6,000 year reign of sin on this earth, okay? And so part of that 6,000 years is subscribed to the end when the judgment of the wicked would take place. That is to say, after the second resurrection. That is included in the 6,000 year period. We don't know how long the wicked will actually be on this earth after the second resurrection. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month. It could, because they're going to wage war basically against the saints in the city. We read that right in the Bible, guys. And so for however long that takes, it's subtracted to what it is here on this earth. We're not setting times, we're not setting dates here. Jesus says that we could know when it was close, even at the door. But we don't know the day or the hour, so we're not going to talk about day or the hour. But we will get excited about it's going to be soon. And I think we all are very excited about that. And so I think about it day and night. Like, what's heaven going to be like? I mean, Lisa was describing the grass. She was describing some other things. There's not going to be any death in heaven. There's not going to be any strife.
No funeral.
No funerals.
No tears.
No tears. Oh.
Says on here, no ocean. No sea that divides friends as barriers. No phantomless oceans in the new earth. There'll be no waves. There'll be no salt. It says that God have been bound by whatever, like the boats have been bound. You don't need that anymore because there'll be no waves to carry off your boat. Yeah, no murmuring waves. It says no funeral.
Well, that kind of caught me off guard because I'm thinking, when you go out in the ocean, that's one of the things that is kind of like daunting about the ocean. You hear about rogue waves. You hear about things that destroy ships. We were just watching the documentary on the Edmund Fitzgerald there in the Great Lakes, a lake of all things, and a wave destroyed it. It seems as though it might have broken half. They found the ship and they have examined it and determined that it was a catastrophic failure. Originally, it was thought that maybe the hatches weren't buttoned down and it took on water and it sank. But now it seems as though the ship actually might have broken half because of a big giant wave. Watchman says, Carrie, seems like the Sanhedrin is trying to get Trump to do things. Sanhedrin, do they even exist anymore?
Huh.
Well, I guess they do. All right, A-Force Animations. I look forward to the piece with a sense of finality. You know, that sense of wellness. Now, can you guys remember back? I have like little flashes from time to time of my childhood and that sense of well-being. Do you know what I'm talking about, Lisa? That sense of well-being when your parents were caring for you and you were very young. And I have like
security.
And I have like little snippets in my mind, just very tiny snippets of when I was actually a little baby, if you can believe that. And I remember what it felt like to be in my mommy's arms and to have that sense of complete wellness. And so I think that's what heaven is going to give us, is that sense of wellness. And our Father in heaven, we're going to have that sense that he's watching over us. Everything's going to be okay because he's all powerful. He's all knowing. He can't lie. So when he tells us that sin will not rise again, it will not rise again. Strife, death, decay, all those things that we hate are going to be gone. Now, eternal bliss, that's hard for the mortal mind to think these things because we live in a world where everything decays and dies. And we live in a world where eventually your neighbors are going to get mad at you. Eventually people are going to hate you. Eventually there's always going to be someone. You know, the old saying, you can please some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. And so there's always this little bit of dread in my heart that, you know, and I know some people turn that dread off, but there's always this dread in my heart that, you know, I'll do something wrong and then I'll upset somebody and then I'll have to go through that kind of emotional trauma of that individual disliking me. And it is kind of a trauma. Remember when, like, I used to have trouble and then I'd come home and it'd be like, why? You know, like, what did I do? Yeah. And it was just like a hard thing for me to reckon, oh, my buttons are messing up again.
You know, I was reading on here, Jesus will say in a loving voice, "Come, my people, you shall come out of the great tribulation, and you've done my will. Suffering, you've suffered for me. Come on in and into the supper, for I will gird myself and serve you." I mean, that is so awesome. And it said she saw pure silver tables many miles in length, fruit from the tree of life and manna, almonds and figs and pomegranates and grapes. Well, didn't they say the grapes, they were so humongous, and the manna, that'd be something really cool to eat. You know, and the tree of life, with that right there, that's, and the fountains of the living water. I mean, that's just awesome. It's going to be awesome being, you know, sometimes I have to read and get out of the world a little bit, seeing all the calamities and everything that are falling, and try to aim my nose and eyes upward, looking at all this stuff. I mean, I may be overly obsessed with looking at this now and then because there's so many things. There's so much trafficking and fires and so many bad things that we see all the time. I mean, we turn on the news and people are stuck and getting in accidents over here left and right because they're just trying to get to work to, you know, make a living. And then we hear three kids committed suicide. You know, it's like, we get pounded and pounded with all this stuff all the time. We want to hear that there is a God, because we could lose track and be so into the world and what the wars are bringing and all the embezzlement and all the lies and scandals and everything else that's going on.
That's right.
And I kind of now and then want to look up because now you get so numb and you're like, so what about everything?
You need to escape.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking forward to. This is the great hope. And, you know, if we don't have that hope, then what is it all for? And that I'm going to use that as a segue to transition to our other part of our topic, which is country living. We're going to continue to talk about that because I think there's more to talk about as far as country living and the importance of getting out into out into nature, out into the country. Plane crashes for this month over there. That's right. What was that? Canada?
It's Canada.
The plane just wrecked. I mean, it was pilot error. Nobody died, I don't think.
No.
But these nasty wrecks, people's minds are somewhere else. Boy, you have no idea. We see so many wrecks here. It's not even funny. We were driving out this morning and we saw where somebody came in off the off ramp to get onto the Clarkston Road up here, and they literally just ran into the guardrail.
Yeah.
And that's, the car was still there, and they hit that sucker hard. I mean, bam. I mean, you can tell just by looking at the guard. Those things aren't built feebly. They're made to hold back the vehicle.
Our son almost died this week. I mean, he was following a rig because that side of the highway was more cleared off, and he was behind him, probably driving too fast, but they're both driving fast. The rig is occupied with his radio or whatever he's doing, and then all of a sudden he slams his brakes on, ends up sideways. My son veers off, careening off the side into the tall snow. He ends up getting out, but that could have took his life.
Yeah, it just takes one wrong move. But I was thinking this week about the first steps of getting out in the country. And I know one of the daunting tasks that people experience over and over, universally across the table, is what's the first step? Okay, what's the first step in getting out in the country? Okay, do they save money? Do they pray about it? I mean, what do they do? Of course, you're going to pray about it, right? But at some point, you're going to need some action. And what is that action? And something just occurred to me the other day. I mean, I'm a slow thinker. My wife is very witty. She just boom, boom, boom. She can think of things instantly. It takes me a long time to work them out in my head. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think we both have our attributes, right? I'm kind of that deep thinker. You're kind of that witty on the moment, know what to say. But something came to me, and I was thinking that the first thing to do, literally, and it's the first thing that Lisa and I did, was just start driving. Start looking at these places. Not only go online and find them, but find some places nearby you. One of the things that I've discovered, Christian Progress says, I think about that constantly, what is happening. Everyone has checked out. It's like a switch was flipped and everyone has lost their minds.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking that. Steve Quayle lives in Montana. You guys know him. Is that a question or a statement? You guys know him, Steve Quayle?
We have a Whitehall church in Bozeman and Mount Ellis and Billings and Helena. So I don't know. It's kind of vast.
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere you got to drive,
Yeah, if he's in Montana, if he goes to any of the camp meetings, it's likely that we did run across him at least once. Trish, it's a curse on them. I know people that will just not accept what is happening to America. Oh, it's a question. Okay, do we know him? No. I haven't heard of him. Steve Quayle, no. Blue Light packed up beans and hop in the box car to Montana.
No, don't come over here.
Well, listen,
it's very cold over here.
if this is truly the last days, we don't have. Oh, he lives in Bozeman, and is he an Adventist or is he just an individual? Because I do that too. Like I'll be like, oh, you live in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, you must know so and so. We do that a lot, and so, no, I haven't heard of him. But what's the clown and the monkey about? Bozo Man. Oh, Bozo Man. Yeah, they call it. Yeah, Bozone. They call it the Bozone.
They also call it Bose Angeles.
Yeah,
it's outgrown itself.
Okay, Steve Quayle did a YouTube documentary once, I believe. Is this the same guy? I'll have to look him up. Not sure about that. Bozo the Clown Man. Steve Quayle has been around a long time. Oh, okay. So it's somebody it's somebody that's semi-famous, infamous, maybe one of the two that I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Christian, I'm presuming. I don't know. I'm more likely to know an Adventist than a non-Adventist. But yeah, so the first thing to do is just to literally get out and just start looking, start driving around, get active, get in your car, find a piece of property. Because one of the things I've noticed is that no matter where you live, there's going to be a piece of land somewhere in that area. Now, if God's calling you to move out of the area, that's fine. But just start somewhere. You can start locally and start going to the country, the little nooks and crannies of affordable land, wherever you guys live, or the nearest state. And just make that weekend trip. Boom, just pack a lunch and just head out. And I think that's where you start. Start talking to real estate agents. Make it real inside your head. Even if it doesn't seem real now.
Show effort.
Yeah, show effort. God will open up a way.
In Tennessee, and in a lot of these places like Texas and Missouri and Kentucky, and trying to think Alabama, and anyways, they're all affordable. It's all
a
affordable.
Lot of places on the East Coast.
Just thousands of little properties, and they're very cheap. And I know it's the South, and it's oppressed, and
it's got its problems.
It's got its problems, but I just went to court today over the road over here, over a gate that and it's just road wars, and I think this is worldwide. I really do. I told Carrie I want my own driveway.
Well, they were just saying how they think the world's lost their mind. And so
yes.
it feels kind of good to have other people, kind of notice this and to be able to talk about it. We go to our own church, and other people in our own church don't necessarily always see it. Some do, some don't.
And they're like, what? And they live here in Montana. What? You have trouble with people? They're oblivious. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just our neck of the woods. I have no idea.
Yeah, Blue Light said, I think downfall of Christianity's denominations, there are only two views, amill and premill, or, premillennium or postmillennium, right? Is that what you mean, Blue Light? Let me see here. Blue Light couldn't leave the city. He needs his Starbucks. Oh, you guys must know each other. Okay. So, Trish in Progress, thank you for saying that. Show effort. Just start. My issue is that I don't know where to go. I will take your advice and take a weekend. Yeah, I think that's, look, we just need to get out, and we need to just we don't know how we're going to pay for it. We don't know, in some cases we don't, right? I mean, some people have a little bit of equity maybe, or a house or something like that they can sell. Most people that have the equity and the money to move are not really looking to move. Mm. Now, I'll say that, and somebody will come on here and be like, oh, I have something, and I'm...
Now about the wife that doesn't want to move into the country too far, we were searching. We're way over here, but we went online, and there's this man who sells property and stuff, and he said he's always telling you how close you are to town. He's like, 15 minutes or 20 minutes from this town, or 15 to this one, and that's appealing, and that's really nice. I mean, wherever you're going to go, they always talk about that. So there's a compromise. You're still out, but not too far out.
So last trumpet, Bart says, think about how you're going to make a living, whether one can still do what they are doing or find a new job or start a business unless there are savings and retirement built up. Yeah. So, one of the most important things about country living is you have to have a plan, right? Even if that plan changes over time, even if, God sends you in a different direction. That's kind of what he did with us. We started out in a direction. He was like, nope, go this direction. But he didn't say, nope, go this direction until we started going somewhere. And so that's the important thing, is you have to actually just get out there, get your foot past that threshold and just start beating the streets. And what I mean by beating the streets is getting out there and really just looking at the country, get your mind, really get out there and get your hands. We went to Oregon, Lisa and I, and we thought that was the piece of property for us. What, didn't we? Remember
Yeah.
that one?
Mm-hmm.
And so we went out there and we had that jar. We took a jar of dirt and brought it home with us, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And we knelt there on
We
the
prayed
property
over it.
and we prayed and we said, Lord, if this is your will, please make that. And it was such a beautiful little spot. I mean, it just everything looked perfect. But then we found out later some of the laws in Oregon and stuff. And so God says, nope. And then we thought there was another place in Oregon down there by Klamath Falls. We actually put some money down on that on Land Central. We secured the land, went up there and checked it out afterwards. It was $300 to secure the land on Land Central. And we went up there and checked it out. And, you know, I thought it was great. She didn't like it so much. It was very heavily timbered. I thought, great, we'll just cut these trees down, build our house.
Logged over.
Well, there was a lot of slash, but there was some big timber on there too, and that's what I was looking at. There was some nice big yellow pines. There was some fir trees and things like that. But when you looked into, I called the building department. They wouldn't let us even build out there unless we owned like 60 acres. The wells were very deep. Okay, nope, that's not it. And then immediately after that is when somebody said, hey, let's go to Montana and let's go check it out. She actually lives up here now too. And so, but she was wanting to come up here and look at Montana. We found the money. All these things kind of just came together, boom, all at once. And we came up here with the plan. Our plan was to live in Western Montana because that's the part we fell in love with. God says, nope, Central Southern. So that's kind of.
He got the sequence wrong. So we moved up through the crash of the credit, remember? The stock market.
Oh, well, yeah, right there during
2008.
2008. Yeah, so that's
we
right.
moved up on this ranch,
That's
this
right.
dusty old ranch, and we lived there. And then from there, I started meeting people and being a home giver. And then anyways, we ended up. This one guy said he buried a bunch of money, and I said, well, just put the dirt back. Then he was frightened because he'd already said that there was some stuff buried. Thought we were going to keep it all. Then I sent my bratty son out there. I said, he said, there's a bunch of money out there. Go grab that shovel and go jump on the dirt over there. He finds it in 5 minutes. I suppose being a non-Christian, we could have kept it, but we could have kept it all and not told him anything about it, but we didn't. We got our share, and then so I think God blessed us. It's one test after another test that we've been through, and then we came up with her, and then Carrie had hearts in his eyes. I knew we were going to move here.
Yeah, the minute we crossed the state line, I was like, okay, now I know.
Yeah.
But I knew we were going to live up here, but I didn't know where. And so that was our journey, and it was kind of this sequence of reaching out and failing and reaching out and failing and reaching out and failing, and like the fourth try, boom, it hit. And so this is where God wanted us. Now let me read a couple of these comments here because they're really good. Okay, Bart says, last trumpet blast. He says medical needs and availability are important to consider too. Large overhead, Watchman says, and mortgage payments is a bad idea right now. I'm thinking, yes. Well, most people who are listening to this message, Watchman, I think are kind of restricted on their income. They don't have, like we were. We were interested in the country living. It's very attractive to us. You don't hear a lot of people with means being attracted to live in the country. There probably are a few, and I'm sorry if somebody out there is listening and you're one of them. But that's just the way it goes. That's what I've noticed. And so most everybody that's looking at the country living don't really have the way to get out. And so that's where the reliance on God comes in. Okay, so Blue Light says country living is good to know if you know how to farm. He says, I don't. Trish in Progress. One guy told me this evening, if you move away from people and have minimal human contact, your brain will go numb. You need to be around people.
Yeah, Alaska's not a good place.
People will say all kinds of stuff. You know what they used to say about our kids? If you guys homeschool them, they're going to be disconnected. They're going to be introverts. I wish you guys could meet my boys. They are anything but introverts. They are extroverts to the absolute max.
Yeah.
They're the exact opposite of what everybody told us they were going to be. Our kids are the life of the party everywhere they go. They're
jokesters.
They're jokesters. They're loud. They're obnoxious. Everybody they meet, they're friends with. And I mean, they reach out to everyone they see, including strangers, and it blows my mind. I'm like, you got to be careful sometimes, kids. But
they're always making jokes like, I would say, "Where's Garrett?" Oh, this black van pulled up, and there was this clown in there, and he had all these candies, and there went Garrett. Yeah, they're always making jokes. What?
They should be comedians. It's absolutely
Yeah,
hilarious.
I can't do it.
They got pulled over by the cops one time, and all three of them were goofing off in the car.
Mhm.
And and the cop asked, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And my middle son says, "Because my brother has Down syndrome." And that's a
Lazy
mild one.
eyes.
That's a mild
Yeah,
one.
that's
Okay,
that-
so
that's it.
made the cop laugh, and they let him go. So, anyways, they say if you make a cop laugh, they'll let you off the hook. That's
But what about that one girl that said, "You don't give pretty girls tickets, do you?"
because nope, I sure don't. Wrote her ticket anyways.
How terrible.
I thought cops didn't give pretty girls a ticket. We don't. All right, enough of that. So anyways, yeah, just getting out there. Okay, so Trish, the isolation is what it is, but it will be beneficial in times coming because the trust level will be so low.
Yeah.
And that is exactly right. We're moving away from a couple of things. We're not moving away from people. We're moving away from the influences of the city so our minds and our bodies can be pure so that we can influence others in a more positive way. I think that's how this works. We're not moving it out purely for ourselves. We're moving out so that we can become more effective missionaries. All of the prophets did the same thing. That quiet time is such a needed thing nowadays. That's why people are losing their minds. They don't have the wherewithals to sit down and just to have that peace where there's nothing but that little, maybe I got tinnitus or something, but you hear that little buzz in your head. Do you hear the buzz in your head?
No.
Is
I
it just
don't.
me?
Yes.
The little ring, the little, no?
No.
Okay, all right, just me. All right, but I mean, when things are so quiet, it's just you and your thoughts.
My
And maybe a little nature sounds.
my dad used to have us high in the Sierras. There was no TV, nothing like that, no radio. And we'd say, "We're so bored." And he would say, "Well, go fishing." We go down there, we try to catch a fish, but it would get away. And then we had trees, and they'd be loaded full of ladybugs, and then we bring back ladybugs. He'd tell us, "Take them back." And then we'd hop off the banks and make the dirt all soft, and then we would just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. I don't know. We just made our own fun. And I don't know. I would jump off these huge rocks when someone was looking, when they'd be driving by. There was a park right above us, and I would jump on this limb, and this limb would go down, and I'd swing out, and then I'd come back. They'd always think I was falling to my death. I wanted them to think that.
Well, of course. Tim Grady says, hi. Hi, Tim. How you doing, man? Nice to have you join us. Yeah, my brother and I, this must be a Gen X thing because we used to do like things to get attention too. Like I put tire chains on my motorcycle one time and I would ride around in the snow. It snows in California. And I would like act like I'm spinning out and falling over and stuff like that. And then my brother, he had this big long hill and he would ride his bicycle and we'd wait. We'd give him the signal, right? When a car was coming around the corner, we'd give him the signal and then he'd come flying down this hill like he was out of control. And he'd hit the snowbank at this perfect spot where he knew he wouldn't get hurt. But it looked absolutely horrific. He did the feet and hands over the handle. I mean, just feet flying way up in the air. The bike would go over the edge and he'd go flying over the edge and people come screeching to a halt and run over there. Are you okay? We'd all be laughing.
I used to rent out shovels.
It was super fun. All right. So Watchman says, I just don't know how daily labor anymore can make it. He must be speaking into it. Make it the time to do work on a tune-up on a car, the day you just can't make enough for their economy.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people can make hundreds of dollars per day to keep up with everything when nobody will be wanting to spend. Well, and listen, I think the way this is going to go, my clicker's just not working, guys. Again, I don't know. Maybe I'll try. It's working a little better than last time. This is how I picture, and I was confused about this for a long time, but, I think the Lord's been kind of revealing to me like little pieces, little snippets of how this is going to work. And the wicked will be fed. The wicked will have everything that they need. The Sabbath is the true test in the end times. The Sunday law will be imposed. During that Sunday law, the wicked will be well fed. They'll have everything they need. It's those who choose to follow God that will be put through the test of the no buying and the no selling. And that's why people won't be coming to your house not right away to come take your things. Because now certain parts of the world will be struggling. They will be going through different calamities. There will be the waves roaring, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, all of the catastrophes, the fires that we're seeing nowadays. And because we're told that thousands of cities would fall in a day, beginning with the most wicked, okay? Now, that's a lot going on. And they're all going to point their fingers at us and they're saying, because you guys are unfaithful, which is the exact opposite is actually true. And they will seek our lives. It's during that part of time, in between that little trying time and the great time of trouble. That's the time. And we don't know how long that's going to be. It might be 3 months. It might be 3 years. We don't know, but it's not going to be very long. And then those that will have gardens and grow their own food, it is said that they will live like kings and queens. And it's because they have means. And the economy forcing them to accept the mark of the beast because of the buying and the selling. Remember that? Said that the time of it says the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. And so we have to take this serious. We have to be very, this is a very grave issue. It's like the warning that God gave Noah to build an ark. That was a very serious warning. He didn't play around with that warning. It's like the warning that he's giving us now it's like the warning that he gave Jerusalem to get out of the cities. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, flee to the mountains, he says. And so those that did and were faithful were saved, right? The last day prophet has told us to move out into the country, and there's a reason why. Some will be called to live in the city. That's probably not one of us, okay? There will be some that will do that. Don't use that as an excuse to be one of those who, if God calls you, he calls you, right? And I'm not going to tell people what to do because God does call different people for different tasks at different times. These people that are going to stay in the city, they're probably going to go through an extreme experience, and God knows that person can endure it. Can you endure that extreme experience? Or would you it's almost like, when do you jump off the boat, right, into the life raft? At what point do we jump off the boat? The boat people had said the boat is sinking. Dogs are barking up there. I don't know what's going on. But there's no evidence of the boat sinking, but there's rumor that the boat's sinking, right? And you kind of feel the boat starting to list a little bit, but some people say, that's normal. It's the architecture of the boat. And there's people are giving you excuses, but the life rafts are being deployed, right? A few people are deploying life rafts, and the ocean is cold and it's nasty out there, and you don't want to get into a life raft if you have a perfectly good boat that you're standing in, right? And so there's that point of time where you have to trust God and say, well, we need to get on the life raft. We need to get out there, even though there's still a perfectly good boat here, and we're going to be in discomfort over there. When that boat sinks, we're going to be so thankful that we're in the life raft, right? And for those who didn't get in the life raft, they're going to be very, very grieved that they didn't. Let me catch up on some of these. Okay, so I need to find like-minded people. If their theologies are different, try to find somebody that is the same. YouTube has turned into a calamity economy. Everyone waits for the next bad news story to get to the clickbait going. Oh boy. And I try to avoid that sort of clickbait stuff. I could probably do a lot better than I am. Teaming up with another family or two with the same focus is a good idea too. Your local church is a good resource to network to start with. Yes, but do start out with teaming up. We're told that there'll be small bands of believers in the last day. The lovers of money are rolling in their filth. Okay, back down. Let me see. Trish Piper says, "Hi guys. Last time I talked to you guys, I said Kentucky floods. Well, Kentucky is flooded." Yes, you did.
It's hardly nothing compared to what we go through.
Uh-oh.
Well,
there she is.
Well, we saw the flooding, and by the rivers and stuff, they kind of went over their banks and stuff. I saw water coming off the hills too, just right off the embankments. Just as this guy's going down the road, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So if Kerry builds something, he'll have to build it very durable.
Yeah. Well, listen. Come on. I don't know why. I'll have to reach out to some tech support here. How long is our time when they send drones into Chernobyl nuclear meltdown dome and the war in Israel put on hold? The hand of the four winds held. Okay. A lot of people are having hard times right now. Watchman says, Tim, it is not unusual of God is boxing himself in every generation, has felt the end was near, but some of these things happening seems like it's imminent. Trish in Progress says, I asked subtle questions at church and now I know who the preppers are. It doesn't take much, does it? I mean, you can learn very quickly who's who really quick. Carrie, this is a scheduled show. These guys pop up every 15 minutes.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, what is it? Tornado, flood, and snowstorm. Oh, I think he's talking about the YouTube sensationalism.
Oh.
Yeah, tornado, flood, and snowstorm in the same day. Yeah, and about that, Trish, things are happening literally all over the country right now. I don't want to tell somebody, okay, move over here. This is where you need to be. And that's why I'm not like really trying to go in that direction with what I'm telling people. I'm just saying, if you do live in Kentucky and you're familiar with the area and you're familiar with the economy, there's a lot of very affordable land. If you live in Alabama, there's affordable land there. I think there's affordable land in Florida too. Now there's let me see, Trish, a pastor attacked me today because he didn't think that America is under any kind of judgment. He's primed to fall right into the beast system. Trish and he reiterates that. That's for Trish in Progress. Yeah, pastors are telling people smooth things. What are we told? That they'll heap upon themselves, teachers?
They'll get ripped apart in 10 days.
Yeah, we're told that the people aren't going to like that pretty much.
I wanted to read this. Ellen G. White believed that cultivating the soil and working in nature can help people learn spiritually, a spiritual lesson, and improve their own health. Cultivating the soil is like a school for learning spiritual lessons. The work of cultivating the soil reflects God's work on the human soul. The cultivating of the soil can help people learn that they are co-workers with God. Working in the garden, orchards, fields can improve mental health and strength. Morning exercise in the fresh air can help circulation and prevent disease. Goes on and on. So, I mean, I know when I think, oh, I got to plant my garden, and Carrie's out there with a rototiller, and we've just got tons and tons of weeds and stuff in there. And I got to sit out there. I notice I drudgingly get out there, and 20 minutes later, I'm enjoying myself. I'm pulling out the grass roots, and the chickens are over there, and they're pecking all the worms, and I end up feeding the worms. So it ends up being fun. And then once again, it's all flat and all ready, and we're ready to plant our onions and our potatoes. And we have a lot. We plant a lot every year. And then I'm thinking, oh, I got to crawl around on my knees. But I end up getting my knee pads out and crawling around out there. And it becomes, 5 minutes later, it becomes just really rewarding. And you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have a lot of potatoes. And lots of food coming up. Yeah, it's great, I think.
Okay, here's some great comments. Okay, A-Force, excuse me, says 2 weeks ago our first elder gave a very political sermon. Ellen White stated that we should avoid politics at all costs, not taking sides. Yeah, too many pastors because they're popular. Those sermons are popular. They'll root for Trump or they'll hate Trump or something like that. And depending on which way the wind is blowing. Here's what's wrong with politics. Okay, if you get, I think they're both working in concert, is what's happening. The two are working in concert. They're friends. There's like the king of the north and the king of the south. They sit at the same table, but they pretend to oppose one another. Okay, and so at the end of the day, if we choose one side or the other, we're basically falling into that trap. And a lot of it, my friends accuse me of being like on the liberal end of things because I'm not like on the Trump train. And yeah, if I was to identify in politics, I would identify as a Republican because I think a Republican more closely follows the ideals of God. They're not perfect, but that would be like the original Republican that believed that one man could stand against the government regardless of his age, race, or color, and so or social status. So we can add that in there as well. All right, enough of that. All right, so Christian Progress says, my priest was promoting during COVID. Sometimes you just have to take what you need and leave the rest. Just as in the days of Noah, will the end times be, we can learn a lot by studying those times to see how close Jesus' second return is. Amen. Blue light, you need a new pasture. A4 says, sorry for all the typos. I use voice activation. Me too, man. God told. Okay. Trish in progress. Just being in there could be a contamination. Tim Grady, Texas has no income tax, so land taxes are expensive. Oh, that's good to know. Didn't know that. Let's see. How about the libertarian? Same thing. Well, look, I don't think we should be in politics, period. Our kingdom is in heaven. If we're going to take a political side, that's our king. That's who's going to eventually rule. And he's going to be elected on the merits of him being the creator and him being the savior. And he has right to the people who choose to follow him. Because this planet is a speck on this universe. Mm-hmm. It's just a speck. He controls all the rest of the universe. It's just this little area that's in question right now. And there will be a small group amidst the vast multitudes that will choose God. And those are the ones that are going to be taken. All right, Tim, prosperity tax is a burden, and if somebody moves in and makes land more valuable, you have to pay. Amen to that. Two wings connected to the same bird. Libertarian, do not have Jesus. There is no forefront. Property tax is illegal. Yeah, but they do it anyways. And we can't really stand up against it because we know what happened to people in the past that have done that. I heard if you bury one of your loved ones on your property, somehow that negates property tax. So one of us is going to have to. No, never mind, Lisa. I'm sorry.
Carrie, you're scaring me.
All right, that was dark. I'm sorry. The pastors are all signed in with the government, and the Bible says the leaders are spiritually asleep during judgment. Taxation is theft. So, yeah.
Insurance, taxes, all that is a theft.
Yeah. It is. Well,
we had a band of people up here that somewhere up here, I don't know. Up here means it's pretty big up here in this general area, and they refused to get a driver's license. They would drive, and we knew this particular man, and he had this semi truck with this brand new truck and this tractor on the back of it, this grader, wasn't it?
Keep talking. I'm going to put another log on the fire.
Anyways, he would get pulled over, and he was say, I got to go to court. But there is a band of those people up here, and I think I think you need a driver's license. I mean, I'm looking at the kids. I had kids. I definitely would scream and yell. There was a lot of rights and wrongs, and I do think that they need a driver's license for sure. Do you see them out here? They could get their driver's license here at 13, and a lot of farmer kids, they're driving up and down in their grandpa's truck and their dad's old truck or something, and they have these 1-ton bales on there. I wouldn't want to smack into one of them or them to smack into me. So, and then with all the ice and rain, we're going to get a lot of rain, so we'll have a lot of mud pretty soon. So, yeah, it's kind of fairly dangerous, especially these back roads.
It's still kind of cold in here, isn't it?
It's freezing. I have my sleeping bag on me.
Okay, Trish says, does burying my dog count? I mean, we have, 3 dogs buried out here?
Yeah.
Poor
we got
little
Winky and Varma and
Scrappy.
Yeah,
Poor little fellas. Okay, so my wood stove pipe rusted. I had to replace some parts. All the work, cutting, chainsaw maintenance, it's all costing either way. Stovepipe's not cheap either.
That double-walled stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the single wall, $10 a section. Jesus Christ caught in middle, so that is a good place for me. Oh, with the politics.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, I was remembering back. My sons are very athletic. My older one, he uses his brain. He's pretty smart. But my middle son was just like me, just jumping and hopping, and he's in good shape. And one day, he would go to school, and he'd get bad marks. They'd say, he won't sit down. He won't stop eating the eraser off his pencil. He's just up every few minutes, and he's a brat. He's hyperactive or something. And one day he came back with brand new shoes. And I said, "Where'd you get those?" And he said, "Oh, it's from my teacher. We had a track meet, and I won all blue ribbons." And he's going like this. And I just thought, right then and there, I wanted to take my kids out, but I just really didn't think it was great to be so competitive. And I looked it up, and sure enough, a lot of these games and football games and baseball and being competitive is not very good. I mean, what does she have to say about it? I forgot.
Oh, yeah, sports and competition are no good.
Yeah.
A lot of our schools practice it.
Yeah.
I
made him take those shoes back.
Oh, come on. My clicker. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. All right. So Trish says, my son is 21 and I hate to ride with him. He thinks his car can stop on a dime even in snow and rain. Yeah, we sympathize big time with you, Trish.
We barely lived through it.
Yeah, it's a miracle that we are even alive. Crazy kids. All right, diesel heater with a sand battery. I'm going to buy one of those things, I think. As soon as I get my checks start coming in, we're going to grab one of those things. We'll probably...
Checks coming in.
Checks in the mail.
I have to laugh at that.
Yeah, I know. So what else do we got here? Another day, P. Grant says, in shorts and a tee. Ooh, you're going to rub it in, aren't you? Australia weather.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah, but your winter's coming up on you.
You're into fall.
That's right. Another day in shorts and T-shirt here. You need to move to the subtropic, guys.
Hey, wait. We just had a news broadcast that the kids in Bozeman were walking around in shorts and flip-flops. Right? That's what they were saying.
Yeah. It was a warning, and of course the kids are doing it for attention, like we used to do things. But they're literally like, you'll drive up to the university or you'll drive up to the schools, and the high school kids are going from class to class, literally in shorts, T-shirts. It's like minus 10 degrees. Mm-hmm. And you can see the frost starting to form on the tips of their hair and stuff. And they're just walking like nothing, like there's no big hurry. It's something kids do, and it's funny. And But they're like, oh, it's super dangerous. And I've seen people like get out of their cars at gas stations, like in the middle of North Dakota, and they're literally wearing flip-flops and shorts, and the wind is blowing. The wind chill's probably -30, and they're just walking casually to the store and back. I mean, the walk to the store and back, that's fine. You'll survive that, no problem. But what if your car goes off the road and your windows break and you're caught in sandals and shorts? That's a problem. Anyways, enough of that. That's powerful, Lisa. Good for you for making him take the shoes back, Trish said.
Yeah, I took them back and told the teacher that, now you found a use for my son to win for your school, but here's your shoes back.
Okay, Watchman says a couple. Cold weather will definitely not be fun in a shift scenario. That's if things go south.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot to put that up there. Watchman says you will have less effort in southern areas. People are already getting shell-shocked power bills. Kevin T., good evening from La Mirada, California. It's a brisk 64 here. Yeah, but you guys, that's because of the fires have warmed the whole area, and you guys are still getting the residual. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy.
All right.
I can hit in anytime you want me to hit him. I can throw something at him.
Yeah. Good evening. Welcome in, Kevin. Lots of snow. That was from Watchman, by the way. Lots of snow here in North Carolina. And we'll still be in shorts and T-shirts this winter. LOL. That.
Is that Australia again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really rubbing it in.
Yeah.
Really rubbing it in there.
Yep, those Aussies.
They sure know how to hurt a guy. 9 degrees here in Chicago, heading for 3 degrees tonight. You know what, Bart? I saw the some snippets on Chicago. It doesn't look too good over there right now. But of course, Chicago's used to that stuff, so.
Snot sickles and all that.
Yeah. Everybody loves the snot sickles.
Yeah.
All right, my clicker just died. I don't know. I'm so frustrated.
He's playing with that thing.
I just can't seem to get it to work.
He's like fidgeting with that.
I'm going to make this thing work one day.
It's going to wear it out before it's even a week old.
26, A-Force says, I forgot where you lived, A-Force. Watchman, Trisha Progress says, this is at Watchman, a 69 Camaro. I've seen a few of those back in the, okay, so you're talking about Camaros. So anyways, yeah, so, the important thing is to get out, and we're going to, I did a couple shorts on just the condition of our area up here, and I think that Bart says, laugh out loud, Lisa. I think you were going to hit me. I think that's what made him laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. It's my sister.
Oh, you want to get it?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Watchman says, oh, okay, never mind. You guys are talking to each other. So, so we're gonna hopefully do some more videos on how we've been doing things around here, and maybe for the purposes of encouraging other people to get out there and actually start working on this stuff. Now, remember, we were dirt poor. We didn't have anything. We were and are a lot like you guys are in the same exact boat that you guys are in. Many of you guys that are looking to move out, that can't really see the end of what's of your labors or your efforts.
We were in one of the richest areas in the Central Coast. So why we moved there was Carrie's mom was there, but we ended up sticking around, and I tell you, we just barely were making it. It took both of us to work, and it was hard. And that was back then.
Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't
worse
imagine
now.
it now.
Well, imagine just here in Bozeman, and that we were talking about that too, about the cost of living here in Montana.
Yeah.
And Montana is a great state to do this in. I mean, yes, there's the winter, there's the cold. In Kentucky, there's the storms and the rain and the floods and the hurricanes or the tornadoes. I mean, in Florida, there's the hurricanes. In California, there's the earthquakes and the fires. Every place has its challenges,
Calamities, and they're going to get worse.
They are. And you go to a place like Arizona, and it's brutally hot and it's dry, and there's no water.
The rocks are black. We saw a lizard and it was black. It got too much sun exposure.
Got cooked. What are those dogs barking at?
I don't know.
Somebody could be
I
robbing
wonder.
us right
I
now.
wonder if they just do that all day when we're gone.
I'm sure they do. They think we're gone right now.
What?
Huh. Move to El Salvador. You won't have to worry about winter or crime.
No.
Interesting. Well, I think in El Salvador is where they're rounding up all of those MS-13 gang members.
Oh.
Mara Salvatrucha, is that how you say it? Something like that. Whatever. Oh, El Salvador in the 80s was a pretty rough place. Yeah, well, it's getting better now. And listen, there's places all over. I've been watching some recent videos in Africa, and I don't know what religious persuasion they are, but there's 3 ladies, beautiful African women, tall and thin, and they go on there to explain their culture, just perfectly dressed to the T. I mean, they have not, I mean, they're living in an area where we think of kind of a rough area to live in, and they're doing hard physical labor, but there's never even so much as a stain on their clothing. But they talk about how nice it is where they live in Uganda, and the village life, and how they prepare their water, how they prepare their food, how they go shopping, and how they do everything in the village. And I got to thinking, because God has prepared a place, there's somewhere for everybody, right? Mm. And no matter where you live, whether it be anywhere, from Australia, obviously our Australian brothers and sisters over there have that beautiful climate in much of their country.
You know what I think of when I think of Australia? Funnel spiders and bird spiders, all kinds of spiders and crocodiles and those box
salties,
jellyfish and
salties.
Yeah,
the box jellyfish. Yeah. Well, and Australia has this challenge.
Octopus thing that kills you.
The thing with the dart?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually, what that actually is a
shellfish.
It's a shellfish. But
I'm talking about the little blue ringed octopus thing.
Yeah, those are poisonous too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no matter what you run into down there,
sharks.
You're gonna get bit or stung or stabbed somewhere.
Yeah, and there's poisonous trees and plants and treacherous.
So
I'm scared of Australia.
Yeah, isn't that funny how we're scared of everybody else's place where they live?
You go into the river and you'll get hit by a bull shark or something over there.
Okay, Trish in Progress says, my dog really barks. If she was barking like that, I'd go check. Are you sure everything is okay? I've never heard them bark like that. We will. We'll go up there. I'll send my wife up there. She's...
Send me up there.
Yeah, I'll send her up there first. Make sure it's safe for me to go. All right. Young brazen youth is usually a problem in the area if it's not the storms. Yeah. Moved down to Bolivia where Pastor David Gates lived. I heard about that. So in Bolivia, it's really nice weather. The gardens grow wonderfully. It's kind of like this rainforest type area.
Is that where the Old Man of the Sea was at? That's a movie.
That Old Man of the Sea, where was that? That was in Italy.
Oh, was it in Italy?
I think, yeah. That was, who was the author of that? They made us read it in school. It was a good book, though. Catches this fish and...
Well, everyone made fun of him. And he said, I used to go out and catch these huge fish. He went out and caught this enormous swordfish. But bringing it in, he was trying to ward off all the sharks. So I'm sure everyone watched it. It's just an old classic. Ends up bringing in the skeleton of that terrific prize-winning fish, and everyone ends up saying, oh, he was the amazing fisherman,
Tim Grady says, if living in city, need to look at apartment homesteading methods and sack gardens. Some might have to do that. Or I mean, if you're going to live in the cities, you may as well just do a little bit of prepping and get some storage going. I would say, at the very least, a bug out bag.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Gary the Spider? Oh boy! So he's got a pet spider too.
Oh God!
This is
I can
nuts.
imagine.
You're blowing my mind. Do you have a pet salty also, P. Grand?
Ugh.
Probably goes out there and feeds it
Oh.
by hand. Did you see that guy feeding that alligator by hand?
Yes, he's gonna get it.
I mean, the alligator, he let it get too close, like for one, and then he takes the chicken and he gives it to, and it snaps it up, right? And then he's petting it. And he's just petting this alligator, and he's patting it on its head, and the alligator puts its head back down.
You know, Geronimo was his whole clan, his whole tribe, was taken down into Florida, and every year they put on like a rodeo, and they have those, not salties, but they have the alligators. They put their head in their mouth. Yeah,
Now, one guy got bit too, didn't he?
yeah, he got bit.
Yeah.
Happens, I guess, but he didn't die. It's just amazing what people do.
Okay, for the $1,500 it costs you to have an apartment, you could live in the woods. Well, that's right. You know, people don't realize how affordable living in the woods can be if it's done correctly. If you're finding a place out in the woods, like for example, I mean, and I know some of these places we could never picture ourselves living. I could never picture myself living where we're at right now. And, you know, there's literally somewhere for everybody out there, no matter what state you're in. And I've been looking, and I've been kind of noticing that we don't have to move long distances. We don't have to get that far away unless God calls you to, and he might be calling you to do that. But more than likely, there's somewhere locally, just on the outskirts of town or even further out than that, that everybody can deal with. You have, and Watchman says here, he says, you could have to camp with tent, stove, sleeping bag, and everything for $500. And, you know, listen, it might get to that for some people. Spokane now is moving to keep people from camping even outside of camping even outside of city limits. I remember when they were trying to ban the saving of seeds in California, and they were trying to ban heirloom seeds in particular. And this was a big thing, and we thought it was this great harbinger of the end times, and it is. I mean, look at what they're trying to do. The devil knows that there will be a small group of people, a small band of people in the end days from all over the world that will follow God's directive and have to get out of the cities. And he is trying to sabotage that effort, but God is making a way for everybody to be able to do this, and we have to trust in God that he will make a way for us. For our brothers and sisters in Africa, you know, they might have to move to a village. For our brothers and sisters in Australia, they might have to move to the bush, you know. For our brothers and sisters here in America, that means maybe they'll have to go to, you know, Alabama, Kentucky, Montana. There's lots of places in between.
Plateau that Ellen G. White talks about. Remember, it was like
the Cumberland Plateau.
The Cumberland Plateau.
Well, and that's it. Okay, so there's, you know, and one of the Trishas here, I don't forgot who's who, but there was a statement made by Ellen White in a camp meeting, and it's not written down in any of her books, but there was a statement made that she said that the Cumberland Plateau would be a great place for the end days.
Yes.
And that has been repeated several times by several people that I've spoken with. I'm not telling people to move to Kentucky or Tennessee or none of those areas down there. There are a lot of
affordable.
Yeah, there's just a lot of affordable places down there.
You know, I wanted to say too, we're not Amish or Mennonite or anything. We never. I had no idea how to plant anything. I come out of the high Sierras. We've got some of the biggest trees in the world up there, and in fact, our house was wrapped around one of those humongous redwood trees. You can't really plant anything up there. I was never raised with a mom and dad planting a garden. We bought everything from the valley, San Joaquin Valley, Santa Clara Valley, and it's the food bowl of the Is that how you say it?
Salad Bowl.
Salad Bowl. No, that's the Highway 101.
That's the Salinas Valley.
Yeah, this is inland
Yeah.
valley.
So I wanted to address this again because Tim Grady said the spirit of prophecy, if you prep, store food, bugs will get into it. But she specifically says during the time of trouble.
Oh,
Okay. The preparation would be just prior to that time of trouble when we're being tried for, because of the buying and selling of the mark of the beast. Now, when Ellen White made that statement, people would on a regular basis store upwards of a year of food. Almost everybody had about a year's of, especially in the, not the city folks, but everybody in the rural regions never were without their canning, their gardens, their stored foods. And and a good example of what I'm talking about happened in, I think, around the 1940s here in America when, or was it the 50s? It was right after the war. There was, in Wyoming and Montana, there was one of the worst storm blizzards to date.
Oh, yeah.
And there was snow drifts upwards of 25 feet deep. And it was impossible for the infrastructure at that time, for the tractors, for the snow blowers. They didn't have what we have nowadays. They were literally having to feed cattle with the bombers, with the World War II bombers. They were throwing hay out the back of these bombers so the cattle wouldn't die. Many cattle did die. But what they noticed was that everybody in the rural area, not a single person, I mean, when they went out there and landed to bring supplies, they didn't need supplies. They had everything they needed. The kids were playing on the snow mounds. They had dug their way out of their houses, and they were self-sufficient, and nothing bad really came of it. I mean, the ones that got on the roads and tried to travel, some of them got trapped and were killed. They were literally covered in snow drifts and weren't found until spring. Dogs are still barking.
I think it's a coyote.
Oh, it might be a coyote, huh?
It's that coyote that's coming around, it's trying to eat them.
Okay.
I was gonna just say, usually the winters here aren't so extreme, and people leave their potatoes in the ground and they put bales of hay on the top of them, broken bales, hay on them, and you're able to go out there. You'll have a tarp over that. You're able to go out there and dig up your potatoes as you need them, But this year it wouldn't have worked because it got really.
The frost is really down deep this year.
It's really deep.
It wouldn't have worked.
Oh, and so next week it's warming up here, and you're gonna see another set of problems over here because we have like 4 feet of snow over here, and it's kind of settled in between snows, so it turned into like ice, and now it's gonna be 50. Now all of it's gonna. Oh, and we're supposed to get rain. We're gonna have a lot of flooding. Yeah.
Trish says, I was going to camp and it's flooded. They ticket the homeless people here in Kentucky, and they took a homeless man's sleeping bag 3 different times during the coldest weather. It is not friendly.
What?
Yeah, that's nasty.
Oh.
Now, we have a lot of homeless, believe it or not, here in Montana.
Yeah.
We met a homeless individual a few years back that was actually living in a tent right there in Belgrade. The police never bothered him, but he was living in a tent in Belgrade, and he would go to the local McDonald's and some of the Taco Bell right there in Belgrade, and he would clear the snow. This guy was camping in below zero weather.
Yeah.
Now we brought him. He asked us for work, and I remember that same day John had asked us to go help him with his well because something had happened with his well, and so he needed to dig it up. We went out there with the backhoe. We dug it up. We hired this guy to kind of help us, and we put him on a shovel. And oh, that was right during Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was like the day before or something. Anyways, we had Thanksgiving dinner with them, and John paid him what he wanted, and we had a good time visiting him with him. But he wanted to be brought right back to his little camp and dropped off because that's where and he made a phone call to his mom.
Yeah, he used my phone, and that was it.
Yeah, and that was it. That's all he wanted, and which was amazing to me.
Every time he would be around the block right there around the stores and stuff, people would buy him coffee and food. But I wanted to tell you this, that Alaska's got a lot of homeless. Believe it or not. There's a lot. You should look it up. I actually watched it. I was shocked.
Yeah, they take the homeless here pretty serious because of the conditions, and we have a warming shelter in most of the
None of our
areas
hotels will turn them away. It's by law.
by law. Yeah, if they need it, even if they need it, if the homeless shelter is full, if the warming shelter is full, then they will actually house them, and the state pays for it in a hotel. So I guess you could say it's homeless friendly. And there's been many accounts of people just going into the woods in Montana and just disappearing. And when I mean disappearing, they'll stay for months, even sometimes years. Many such cases here. Just and the woods up
Carrie,
here.
those are fugitives. Isn't it the Unabomber from up here?
Yeah, Ted Kaczynski was from Lincoln, Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of Alone contestants are from here on that program Alone.
Yeah, that's
These
right.
Women out there in the bush.
Some tough ladies.
Yeah, I know.
Rough and tough and hard to bluff. All right. Tim Grady says, my family told me to keep a year's food. Twice I needed that food. First was when I got out of the Army and we built it back up. Second, I got in bad traffic accident. Okay, so
you know where I do most of my shopping? I bought 100 pounds of quick oats and old-fashioned oats. Webserant. Like a restaurant, but it's on a Webserant. It's pretty affordable.
I wonder if we can trick the system in the last days by buying food on the Websterant.
I don't know.
Well, I black market, cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
all right.
Like people are with the eggs.
Yeah.
What eggs you want? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Bart says, in a sense, the time of trouble will be like a Sabbath. See, he's looking at the positive.
Yeah, I like
We
that.
will be completely rely, rest, and trust in God for everything and give up our worldly possessions and livelihoods just like we do for the Sabbath every week. Okay? Trish Piper said, it's going to get much worse. No cash society. God wants us to rely on him. Amen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the ultimate takeaway, is the reliance on God. And it looks as though that God wants us to put ourselves in a position where we do rely on him. And when we were in court today, you didn't know it, but I was praying that God, and my prayer was basically this, that, God, your government is perfect. Your judgment is perfect. But this world's judgment and government is sometimes scary. It's been, and God does ordain government. We've got some really good judges in Bozeman, by the way. God does ordain the powers to be, like law enforcement, all those things. Those are ordained by God. We're told that in Romans by Paul. And so we're to respect those powers until they begin to violate God's laws. And then we have to disrespect them. We have to disregard them, because God's law is higher than their law. But in the meantime, we have to respect them. But I know that, even though God has ordained all these systems to work in a certain way, they don't always work well. And you're always worried about getting the raw end of the deal. Well, it turns out they threw the case out, so God answered our prayer. Yes, so it's going to get much worse. No cash. I already read that. So, the takeaway is that, we need to prepare like Noah prepared. We need to move with fear, right? It says we need to have some things, and if we don't need them, that's fine. But we can't be presumptuous in our faith. Now, you guys know what that means? That means presuming God's mercy in our life when there's no evidence of that. When God says he's going to forgive us, there's no presumption. And when we truly repent and we truly confess our sins and we give them over to God, it's not presumptuous to take God at his word because he says that he'll throw those sins in the sea. That is not presumptuous in the least bit. But sometimes we make up things in our head. Oh, God will do this for me. God will do that for me. Where there's no command in the Bible that tells us that he's going to do this or that. And so we got to use our minds. We have to be sharp, and God gives us a brain to be able to think these through.
Also, to what I want to do is I want to move to a place and then learn about the plant lives and the healing plants and the holistic whole stance on everything, um, and what to eat. So where we come from, there's wild onions, there's wild potatoes. I used to ride my horse down. I didn't have anyone to come get my horse. I'd ride her down, and the fig trees and the walnut trees and stuff. I'd stand on my horse and reach up and grab. Just it's all full of abundance. We had these huge piles of blackberries and stuff like that. Just food everywhere. I mean, I didn't go eat anywhere. I just grab from nature.
Exactly.
And, that's what I did.
That's an ideal
Apples.
scenario.
Hmm. And we have a lot of those acorns over there and stuff like that you can. I mean, they're big. They're 3-4 inches.
But during the time of trouble, when we're actually running, God says He'll prepare the table for us in the wilderness.
Yes.
And some have confused that to the lesser time of trouble and the saving of food. And I did the same thing, because when I read that statement that she made, I went, ooh, okay, so we're not supposed to save food. But then, the more I thought about it, the more that didn't make sense. And then I read it again, and she specifically says during the time of trouble, she saw that those who prepared and saved up food for the time of trouble, because some people think that they're going to hunker down in their bunkers and weather the time of trouble, when in all actuality, God actually wants us to leave our worldly possessions behind and flee. We're not to rely on anything of our own at that point.
But while we're waiting for that time, it says we'll be eating like kings and queens if you store your food up. If you
Yes,
have food.
well, yeah, grow gardens. She doesn't specifically say store, but that was the custom of the day, and that's what she was even accustomed to. And that's what many people did all up until just very recently, all over the world. I mean, let's take Africa, for example. They store their food, because if they don't, they'll starve in the winter. Those villages literally have to have their food stores.
That's why I went and I got the hot cereals. I got 100 pounds of hot cereal. No, I don't have no sugar. No, I don't have no milk. No, I don't have any butter. But we have hot cereal, and we can grow the potatoes, because we proved that part, that we can grow the onions and the potatoes. And in bad times in Russia and stuff, they lived off potatoes. So, and then we can get our vitamin C from the evergreens here. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that that's better than a pill that was made somewhere in a factory. I'm real into holistic stuff, and I'm really into the herbs and my surroundings. So I'm not a hippie. I'm just a naturalist.
You're kind of hippie. You own a pair of bell bottoms.
No, I was a product of hippie parents. No, they weren't hippies. They were before.
You were a hippie baby.
They were before that. You were hippie baby. I got the remnants though. We grew up with the bell bottoms, but they're back in style now.
My mom made me wear a pair of bell bottoms, and
did you get your hair permed?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my mom and my sister held me down.
Oh, I'm so sure.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
They convinced me. Well, I didn't. I mean, whatever. But I mean, my hair was curly, and then I got teased so bad at school. It was never going to happen again.
He was a red-headed curly-headed child.
Curly-headed, red-headed stepchild. Carrie, the red-headed fairy. Man, they called me every name in the book. With a name like Carrie, for one, that's bad enough. And then to be red-headed and freckled and kind of chubby.
Well, that's why we came together, because I look like a stick with long hair. I was so skinny. They called me Eliza Jane.
Okay, wondering, eating Hassenpfeffer with potatoes and Hassenpfeffer. Remind me what that. I just that's a German food. Yeah, Hassenpfeffer with potatoes and carrots. Okay.
I want to perfect the sourdough starter. I keep killing it.
Well, you have to bake bread regularly, which is hard for people who go to work every. Oh, Hassenpfeffer is rabbit.
Oh,
That's right.
rabbit.
Hassenpfeffer.
Okay.
Yeah, Hassenpfeffer. Unclean animal, by the way. So,
Mhm.
yeah, but you probably already knew that. Okay, Bart says, little time of trouble is when we should grow our own food. Store for that time, but be willing to leave all behind with the angels gather us and lead us out, just like they did for Lot and his family. Okay?
Yes,
And that is true. Because look, that is part of the final conversion process of the saints, is to leave it all behind. And that means everything, 100% reliance on God. That's what Satan said that mankind could never do. And here he has a company of people in the last days who throw everything away on this earth, and they give it all up for total reliance on God. And at that time, Michael shall stand up, that great prince, and he shall stand up for his people, and none will suffer death in those days because they were faithful. And that's what we want to be, folks, is faithful. We want to be faithful to God. We want to be faithful to his directives and his commandments.
no eye has seen.
Eye
no
has not
ear-
seen.
No ear
Ears,
has heard.
ear has
What?
not heard. Neither has it entered into the hearts of men what God has prepared for those who love him. Childhood bullying can leave lasting effects. I feel that.
It made me stronger.
You know, God made me a little, he made me a little ornery too. Look, I remember there was one black kid in school, right?
David Payne.
David Payne. We all knew him. And, well, two black kids. There was David and Ricky. And he was like the most popular kid in school. And he was the leader of the Honda gang, all right? And so I figured if I wanted to get in, I had to beat up David Payne. And so, well, we went out there. I'd never been in a fight before. This was like first grade. And
Carrie was real fat.
well, yeah, but I was strong.
He
I was country
real chunky.
strong. I gave old David Payne a run for his money. We rolled around in the dirt. Everybody jumped on me. It was an unfair fight. I lost that fight, but I won everybody's respect.
Yeah.
And so I was like part of the Honda gang. And then my mom pulled me out of school. I'm like, man, just when I was getting along with these kids. Anyways.
She pulled you out of school, but I grew up with your brother.
Well, I know. He went to Springville. But see, he went later. He came back.
So Damien's 2 years younger than Carrie, and I grew up with him.
Yeah.
I didn't know Carrie till way later. Yeah.
So Bart says that's when we finalize the character of Christ and be ready for Jesus to come for us. Amen. And that is, you know, God has a succession of things that He wants to play out in this whole scenario. And it's all part of it. And country living falls into that category too. Now, I'm not saying everybody that doesn't move out of the country won't be perfected, but it's going to be a lot more harder. You're going to go through a harder time. Just skip the hard time. Just skip that part. We're going to have hard enough time as it is. I mean, it is going to be absolutely, it is going to be very trying for those people in the end days. You know, the wrestling with God, the Jacob's time of trouble, right? And so, you know, when Jacob wrestled, when his brother was going to come and kill him. Because remember now, if you guys are into typology or not, and I've brought this up before, but if you're not deep into typology, this can really throw a loop at you, okay? But I'm going to say it anyways. I'll give you guys something to think about, and we're way over time. So I'll end it with this, and then we'll maybe kind of pick it up next week and then see what you guys have come up with. But in typology, Jacob's brother Esau was a type of Christ, okay? And there was characteristics in him that needs to be looked at, because Jacob was the deceiver, right? He's a type of us. We're the deceiver. Esau was the one, he was the oldest. He had the birthright. He should have gotten the blessing from his father, but the blessing was tricked. Through trickery, Jacob got the blessing. And then Esau was going to return and take vengeance, right? Christ is going to return and take vengeance. And Esau struggled during that time of trouble, pleading with God for his mercies and the promises that he gave Jacob that one day he would become a mighty nation. And it was through those promises that Jacob saw himself through this time of trouble, this time of trying time that he had. And so And so he made it through because he wrestled with God and prevailed. Because he said, "I will not let thee go unless thou bless me." And there was this connotation that, I mean, if he'd have said that in any kind of presumptuous way at all, he would have been destroyed. But he said, "I will not let thee unless thou bless me," because he knew he needed that blessing, and he hadn't had that blessing that was sincere from his father or anyone else. He didn't have the birthright either, so he was blessed. And so this is how we get the blessing from God. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Jesus. That birthright belonged to Esau. But because of the promises of God, we get the blessings. Do you guys see the typology a little bit here? Anyways, all right, enough of that. So Bart says we had one black kid in school too in Kansas. When I tell people in Connecticut that fact, they are astonished. One black kid in Kansas. Okay. It's like the one black kid in Chicago. Or no, excuse me, the one white kid in Chicago, probably. So, yeah, that's interesting. But it's also interesting that, God has made us all colors, shapes, and sizes, and he's done that for our enjoyment, and the devil has taken it and completely turned it upside down on its head and made it something of evil. And, I am so thankful that there will be a healing of the nations in heaven, and where all nations will come together and God will heal their infirmities. Thanks for watching us, guys. Thanks for staying overtime. Thanks for all your wonderful comments. God bless each and every one of you guys. We really do love you guys. We love
God bless you.
this.
Definitely, thank you very much.
Yes, we love our fellowship with you guys, and we so much look forward to it and enjoy it. So with that, good night, folks. And you guys have a blessed rest of your week. We'll see you on Sabbath, 9 o'clock Mountain Time. All right.
Livingston.
Livingston this time. Livingston Church. So.